probably not going to wait too much longer. Maybe 5 minutes after the start time to make sure, give people time to filter in if they weren't before. I'm not expecting a whole lot of people, but anyone that comes is more than welcome, of course. Sorry if I'm a little fumbly or nervous. I've never done any classes or anything of the like, but I'll do my best, and hopefully we can learn something today.
I'm excited.
Eee. So, is anyone familiar with the Substance Painter at all, or what it might be used for?
I've played around with it a little bit to retexture an avatar for VRChat.
Okay. Now, I am by no means an expert. I do not consider myself uh, anything like I'm intermediate slash advanced user. I know enough to help people learn the basics, maybe a few little helpful tricks here and there, and you know, hopefully we'll walk away a little bit more comfortable with the program
Sweet.
because it is very large, and much like many Adobe products, there are not clear instructions, and support is, well, it's not great. So you kind of have to learn from other people in the community, and either that or just take an honest to God class on the thing. And not everybody has time for that. So here
Yep,
we are.
legit.
All right, I am going to start presenting. Now, if I do share my entire screen, please don't judge. I do have the Activate Windows watermark on. My operating system's been doing some fucky wucky things lately, and yeah, so that's happening. And let's just do a window. Select window. Substance Painter. Allow. There we go. Is everybody seeing this?
It's working for me.
Alrighty. That's good enough indication. Alright. Now I've gone through the trouble of making sure these layers are already pre-compiled. There's a very quick way to do that, and it's actually a way to avoid crashing if your computer isn't like super hot, sexy fire. So what you would do is you click on the black mask here, and you get a little cursor, and you want to make it as small as possible. You can do that using the control and mouse clicks. You can mess around like that. So control and right click goes like that. We want to make it super duper small. You can use the slider up here if you're not used to the keyboard controls. And then you just click once in the outside, and you see that little loading bar, and that'll allow the layer to compile everything, and you won't need to worry about going in and painting and having it do all that plus apply what you just made. So I like to do that on Substance files before we get started on all the layers we'll be working with. Little clicks on the outside, so that when we get started it's not going to lag and possibly crash. And by the way, in case anybody didn't know this shortcut, to switch from erasing to drawing, you press the X key. See that thing turned white? It means we're switching from drawing and erasing. Since we're on black masks, if we're applying black, we're erasing that layer. If we're on a white mask, we'd want to use white, but no one's going to use white masks. Use black masks. Don't be a contrarian. And I realize I'm kind of started already, even though it's just noon, but I don't see anybody else coming in really. All right, I'm excited. There's a lot to go through, so let's just get going. All right. So first things first. We're not gonna work with the layers that we have right. Well, you know what? Yeah, we will. This is the bunny avatar by Crispy Seaweed, one of my personal favorites. Hard work and bun. Lots of really fun features. I love it. Really easy to work with in Substance. Let's go through something as basic as just changing your color, because if you've never used... Okay, we have a child. Take a pause there for a moment. All right. So, if you're not familiar with Substance, a lot of this can look a little intimidating. But the layers we want to work with are over here, and they're usually I should say they can be clearly labeled. The fur base color is the one down here. Now this is going to be all of this nonsense, and we can see in here that we've got a bunch of different boxes. Right here we have base color, nice and simple. This can slide it across the spectrum. It's black right now, but let's move it over to something blue. That's nice and easy, but because we want to demonstrate how to draw on layers, we're going to leave it a nice dark color. And you can choose any one of these boxes and switch the colors, or you can turn something up. Like, let's go with the base color again, and let's turn up something like metallic and roughness. Now these boxes, these sliders, can help you achieve a lot of different effects in the program too. So let's just mess with metallic. Let's slip it all the way forward and see if that does anything here. Nope, not that one. Yeah. Well, it does a little bit, but I guess we want to do that on a new layer. So we're going to start at the top, close all this down, and we are going to create our first layer. Now this is how you're going to create something if you want to use a different material, or if you just want to draw like extra patterns or lines on top of the fur that's already there. So we're going to use this button right here. It's create fill layer. I give it a minute to compile, and yeah, it's going to do that. Now don't be scared, didn't ruin anything. We're going to right click over here, and we're going to add a black mask. Now, everything we do in Substance is going to revolve around this mask, around this black mask. Changing the color and anything, you want this box here, but if you're drawing, this is the one we want to deal with. So now that we've applied our black mask, we need to apply a paint layer. So we got black mask, and we want to right click on the black mask, make sure it's highlighted, and go to add paint. Alright, so now that we've got paint in there, let's try and give it a little click. Let's open up my cursor a little bit using Control keyboard shortcut and right click. You hold it down, you can expand it and shrink it as you like. Or if you go up, you can go change the quality of the brush. So shrink it a little bit and we'll draw a little dot there. Nice and simple. But if we want to do something, say, like a straight line, see a lot of furs have straight lines and stripes on their sonas. So let's do something like this. Just as an example, we use the thigh, and we're going to click there once, and we're going to hold shift, and then you're going to have that nifty little line that comes up. That line is going to let you draw a straight line from point A to point B. I took a long time to figure that one out, but it can really help you get some nice clean designs. And you can do the same thing with erasing if you want. You go like that, go across, and you can do nice striped patterns. You can do all kinds of stuff, just combining different brushes and erasing and drawing techniques. So we're going to Control Z, your best friend in this program, Control Z, and we're going to just get rid of all of that. So that's our basic layer. We can do something fun like stamps. Stamps are a little bit more accessible for new people. And to do that, you're going to want to go into your alphas. They have some preset stamps. I have my own in here, interspersed here and there. But to do a stamp, we make sure we're on our paint layer, and we got to make sure that's white again. And let's pick something simple. I guess let's do a heart. Yeah, nice little heart. I'll do it right here on the thigh. And again, that's Control and right click. We can expand the cursor a little bit. And we just place the thigh right there. Place the thigh right there. Place the heart right there. Now, stamps can be fun. You can decorate all kinds of things with the stamps. And they have a pretty decent selection of fun shapes that you can combine, various circles, random shapes, text. Yeah. Sorry, hold on. One moment, guys. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's a stamp. Super simple. Now, if we want to use the text generator, also in the alphas, they don't have very many fonts, but if you want to draw or write something, you can use this. Now, how you want to edit that so it doesn't just stamp substance on your thigh is you want to go up to this window here, and in here, in the alpha, we have the parameters. The text says substance. Let's change the text to, okay, if it'll actually work, hold on, backspace. Anthrocon. We. Thematic. And let's just stamp it right here. See? Nice and simple. Now, if we want to do something fun and creative with this, now that this is down, we can do all kinds of stuff with it. We can change the color while it's done. We don't have to redo anything. But we already went through that, so that's nice and easy. How about we change the material? Now, I hope I'm not moving too fast. I hope this isn't too rapid fire. I'm just trying to touch on a lot of different basic stuff here so that people can call back to it and do something fun on their own avatar if they want. So I like to have a lot of fun with materials. Something really basic, something a lot of people like, is gold. So let's go ahead and make sure that this layer is selected, not the black mask, and we're just going to pick gold clean. Look at that. Now you can mess around with any number of materials. There are different sites you can use. I think Substance Source, they have their own website where you can download some free materials and mess around, but you can also achieve this effect by messing with a lot of these different settings in Substance Painter, like height, emission, metallic, roughness, and messing with the dials till your heart's content. But you get materials, things are a little bit easier. You can even shift the color around. It's not necessarily gold, but it's a nice fun look. Let's see, we've got the basics of black masking, paint. Um, let's see, what else can we do? Oh, projection. Projection's fun. Okay, so let's look at the project. Do I have anything fun to project? Alright, so say we want to do something with this big symbol down here. Now this is from a show Supernatural. Don't worry, everything's fine. No need to panic. Now we do something like this. It can look a little weird. The texture could be a little compressed. It might not always look the way you want it to. Um, Additionally, you can't project a full image with something like that. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to grab a commission reference, and I'm going to bring in an image on black and white, and we are going to paint it in real time. Nice and easy, just to show you how easy this stuff can be. This is what I use to make t-shirts for this avatar in particular, but we're just going to show the technique here. And let's see, we're going to import this thing as a texture. There we go. Now, this one's going to be a little counterintuitive to what we just taught you about the black masks and that layer, but trust me, it'll make sense. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a paint layer. We're not going to add a fill layer, we're going to add a paint layer. Now it's just going to be blank there. That's okay. What we want to do is we want to go over here, and these are various different tools. Let's see. This one is polygon fill. It's advanced stuff. You don't want to worry about that. This is the one we want. This is projection. This is the way you can make like fun clothes, or so you got a band logo you want to paint somewhere on a hat. This is how you do it. So we click projection. We get this nice white screen that comes up. Now we want to find our image that we want to project, and we want to drag it and drop it over here, not in the alpha, not in material mode, but we want it in base color. So we'll drag it over here, and you see it comes up right over here. Now it's going to be a little hard because you're not going to be able to move the background thing right away. But for that, real simple, you just hold the S key, and then use your right mouse button to scale. Your right mouse button is always going to be used to scale different things. So right mouse button scale, and then middle mouse button to move things around, and all while holding the S key. That's going to let you move your stencil, your projection. So we've got that there. Place it roughly center of the back. We're not going for perfection here, just demonstration. Now we're going to go like this. We're just going to click, and we're going to go around. Now it's not really going to match because it's transparent. Oh, it's not, sorry, not transparent. It's a little bit more shiny than the fur itself. But you can see the design is on there. And if something on a t-shirt and we'd have the metallic and roughness turned all the way down, it would pop right up nice and easy. Sometimes you might need to do a little bit of line work and erase around, which of course would be mind-bending on something that complicated, but you can bring all sorts of images in. Simple desktop backgrounds work just as fine, but we don't want to keep that there, so we're going to get rid of that.
Excuse me.
Sure, what is it? Someone got a question? Yes, no, maybe? Alrighty then. Alright, so now that we've got the absolute basics, the absolute bare minimum on how to shift color and things like that, let's try something like exporting. Because a lot of people can have some trouble with this, and there can be a lot of big, scary options that make people nervous. So, if we go to File, and we go to Export Textures down here. Now, over here we have our output directory. This is important if you ever want to find your textures. So we change the output directory. I made a folder specifically for this. So we're going to go in here. We're going to go Bunny Textures. Ah, nice, top of the list. And we're going to select this folder. Now we're going to see sometimes the options aren't necessarily going to match the shaders that you're going to use in VRChat, so you want to make sure that this is something nice and simple. I like to stick with standard specular for Unity 5. It's almost never fails. It can be used in almost any shader. It's a good default. Let me make sure the texture set size is okay, because sometimes different materials will have different sizes, and if you do more complicated stuff, you'll want to scale that up. But generally speaking, you want to stay at 4096. So now that we've had our folder selected and we've got our settings right, let's go down here. Let's make sure it's going to have all the output maps that we need. Now, an output map is just 4 pictures we're going to drag and drop into Unity to apply and get our avatar on the road. But this is not a Unity tutorial, this is a Substance Painter tutorial. So now that we've got all that, simple enough, just hit export. Now, depending on the size of the avatar, size of the substance file, exporting can take 2 minutes, it could take 20 minutes. Um, it's really all dependent on the amount of materials in there and how much it's got to compile. There we go, that's all done. And I do not have my whole screen shared, but rest assured it is in the folder we created. Now, we have only been going for 15 minutes, and that is the absolute basics. So I guess I could start running through some more interesting and advanced stuff. If that's okay with anybody. Does anybody have any questions? I'm looking at the window, so if anyone needs to type anything, I can see it. Okay. Don't mind me fumbling through this. I swear, I do this quite a lot, but it's a little bit different with people watching. All right, let's go to. Let's make some clothes. Yeah, let's make some clothes. That sounds nice. So we are going to make a hoodie for Crispy Seaweed's bunny. I personally love the avatar. It's got, I think, 4 or 5 different outfits. A nice modeled hoodie. Oh, I forgot about this. I made this for Sherbet Shenanigans over on Twitch. Fun little bean. But that is not what we want. So we're going to turn off the layers. And we are going to do something a little bit different with this. Okay, and we are going to change the layers. I think I want to make a hoodie with a nice edgy boy skull design. So we can't have pastels. We can't have pastels. Not that I don't love pastels, but let's see. Let's go in here and change the color like we were going to. Alright, let's just set this on black, see how this works out. Okay, and the trim we'll just leave white for now until we figure out what we're doing with it. Alright, now we want to find an image that we are going to bring in. Now I know I'm not sharing my whole screen, but you'll see the images as they come up in Substance Painter in just a little bit. So I'm going to bring in a couple of different options and we'll see how it all looks together. this'll do. Now I'm bringing in some art from one of my favorite artists, Bill Ellis. All credit to him. I'm making no money off of this, so if he sees this, please don't sue me. Alright, we are importing, and there we go. Now, see, this texture might cause us a little bit of trouble because it's not perfectly even, but we can go with the erasing, and we'll do some of the finer points after we do that. So yeah. Now we are going to do what we did before with creating a paint layer to project this. Now before we do that, I'll turn off the height, turn off the metallic and normal, and turn the roughness all the way up because we don't want it shiny. It's a rough knit fabric sweater, so turn that roughness all the way up. Now we go to our projection mode and we bring in jade skulls. Spoopy. Now it's not a perfectly black background, so we're going to need to do some erasing. Now if you're a practiced hand in a program like GIMP or Photoshop, you could go in and modify the image to make this a little bit easier, put it all in straight black, but I ain't about that right now, so we're doing it the hard way. Alright, so we got this in here. Let's open this up. And I'm going to paint this on. I'm going to try not to go too far out because we're going to have to erase that. Yeah, it's a little shiny, but it'll look like it was kind of screened on, like a lot of sweaters you buy at Target or something. It'll look better once it's cleaned up. Oh, no, screwed up. Screwed up. Gotta start over. Yeah, that's a big no-no. You don't want to move the actual avatar. What you can do with the Alt key, you're going to hold that down, and Alt and middle mouse button will bring you around. Alt plus the right mouse button will help you rotate, and then Alt plus the, Alt plus the left mouse button helps you rotate. Always mix those two up. Alt plus the right helps you go farther back, but keyboard shortcuts are hard to adjust. It's basically just muscle memory, so I could tell you about them all day, but it's not going to make a difference till you press the wrong one a dozen times and you finally drill it into your own head. So we're going to bring this up again. There we go. And now we're going to do it. Yeah, we probably don't need all that down there, so we'll leave it at the neck. Yeah, we'll leave it at the neck for now. Okay, so that is our design as of right this second. I know it doesn't look too clean, but that's okay. Now that we have this layer, we can do something like add a black mask to it. Because as it stands, we're not going to be able to modify what we painted. It's just there. You can't subtract from it. You kind of screwed. So we add the black mask and it disappeared. But don't worry. We add a paint layer onto that black mask like we did before, and we can bring it back. Now I just do this, nice big strokes, so that we can then shrink the cursor, press the X key, shift our grayscale, which is a fancy word, switch to erasing, and we can zoom in nice and close. And then boom. Now, doing this can be very tedious, but this is art, and it's a tedious process. There are a couple of things you could do to make it easier, though. Shrinking the cursor, of course, can help from the tiny details, but there are buttons like the distance key. Now, the distance key can help you do a number of things. It can help you draw in nice curves without needing the coordination of someone who's learned to draw circles on their own, like me. I'm useless without a mouse and keyboard. So let's go with press the D key. That's a good shortcut for it. I think you could go up here. Yeah, you can activate it up here if you want. But I've learned to use the D key, so that's how I'm teaching it. Now, you notice there's that little barrier, that little darker part around the cursor. That basically tells you that it's not going to start drawing until where you hit the mouse meets the outside of the cursor. So it might be a little bit hard to understand. So we'll just show. Since we're on erasing, you see how I passed in? And now it doesn't start until the edge of the circle comes in and starts cutting through behind it. So in effect, I can go like this. Now that's a nice curve. I am not that coordinated. I can't make curves like that on my own. So the distance tool can be very, very useful in doing nice, flowy designs, and the more dramatic you want the curve, and the smooth you want it, you can just turn up the distance, and it gets more and more gradual, just as an effect. So there's that. Let's turn this back down to, I think it was at 8. That's fine, I can modify it later. We're going to turn that off because I'm just freehanding this for funsies. Now, something I've noticed, or it's a little bit hard to get used to, is you don't want to do everything in strokes that are too long. Because if you mess up and you have to do Control Z, you wind up losing a lot of work, so you want to go in short lines. Now that's me freehanding it. I've been using this program for a couple years. A lot of people might not be able to freehand. So, a little cheat sheet to help you get things nice and neat and clean. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that trick we did before with the shift and the straight lines, but we're going to do it in tiny, tiny bursts. So do that here, 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 and we're just going to hold the shift key, and we're just going to keep clicking along that border as gently as we can without cutting into the image. Try not to cut into the image, but if you do, you can just, Control Z, your best friend, and it's not a big deal. Now I'm using a very, very small brush to do this, just to kind of prove a point, but you could do it with a slightly bigger brush too. In fact, you probably want to, because it'll be a little bit harder to erase. So here, let's do that. But keep in mind, the larger the brush you use, the harder it is to stay on that line and not encroach upon whatever it is you're trying to preserve and erase around. And I know this might seem a little tedious, a little boring, but you'd be very surprised about how much doing detailed designs is just erasing the bullshit mistakes you've made around it and making it look like you knew what you're doing the whole time. And now that that's gone, we can be a little bit more loosey-goosey with our erasing and not have to worry so much about messing up our nice design. So we're going to clean this area up, and we're going to take a step back, zoom out, and see what the difference is from this side to the other side. Oop, see, there we go. Cut into the design. There we go. Control Z again. And in case you want to redo that undo, it's Control Y. Just for the record. Pretty basic stuff. You see, now that's nice and clean. Now it kind of looks like it was actually silk screened on. Now there are slightly easier ways to do that. You want to use stamps and things like that, but stamps don't always work out because a stamp has to be within a certain resolution, and if it's not within that resolution, it can stretch and warp your image beyond all reason. And it will look like absolute garbage. Also keep in mind when it comes to this stuff, what you do in Substance is not necessarily what you're going to get in-game. Results may vary, and in fact you should expect them to. Because the fact of the matter is, not every world is going to have the same shader. Unity is not going to do what you've done in Substance Painter justice. I'll just tell you that right now. You can get very, very frustrated. You can just accept the fact that it's not going to look as good as what you made here. It's why I personally like to take the extra time to make sure everything is as neat as possible, so any of that blotchy nonsense that Unity dishes out on you can at least be overridden by how clean it is. Here we go. I kind of want to cut out some of this black a little bit more, so we're going to take advantage of this distance tool again. Because the shine, yeah, here we go. We got to get this angle. And then cut that down. Yeah. And see, it makes it a nice, smooth gradient. It's not jagged. It doesn't look like you scribbled it on. It looks relatively intentional. Yeah. Yeah, it looks kind of intentional. We'll go with that. Yeah, that's a nice little silk screened image. We can do the same with this one over here. I don't think I will, though. I think I'll start a different layer for that one. And you notice, even though you started a different layer, this is still going to be there. It's fine. You can just X that out. No big deal. Or drop a new one in. It's all the same. And we're going to put this let's put it on the arm. Why not? Oh, another fun little keyboard shortcut tidbit. If you have a passing familiarity with the program, Alt plus Shift plus your left mouse button will snap whatever you're doing to an axis, which is very helpful for getting things neat and centered. So here, let me turn this off. Let me go like this, hide this, so you get a better view of this. See, it's all snapping to the axes. So you could put something dead center right here, because it's a tricky part about working with things with 3D, is if you put something on it and you eyeball it, and it looks like it's centered, if the actual model itself wasn't centered, the whole thing is going to be askew. It can mess up your 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 projections, really mess up your projections. It can mess up any kind of smooth or even straight lines you're trying to do. So if you're trying to stay neat and symmetrical, you want to use your axes. And again, that keyboard shortcut combo is Alt, Shift, and then you hold the left mouse button and snaps to rotate. There. So we're going to go back in here, and I want to rotate this. So I'm going to hold the S key, and I'm going to use the left mouse button, and I'm going to rotate it so it looks a nice angle for the arm. Yeah, yeah, let's leave it like that. And we'll bring it up here, and we're going to press Tab to bring back our windows. If anybody ever does that accidentally and panics, like I did when I first started using the program, it's just Tab. Tab brings everything back. Don't worry, you didn't break anything. Just another really weird keyboard shortcut. Oh, we're going to turn off our distance tool, shrink this down, and remember, you don't want to zoom in while you're doing this. It makes things worse. And we're just going to draw around the border. And that's okay if it doesn't look great. We'll just erase it after. And then color inside the lines. Alrighty, and we're going to do the same thing we did before, which was right-click, black mask, right-click on the black mask, add paint, and then we're going to expose this once more, and then we'll erase what we need to. Don't worry about being sloppy at this part. It's fine. Alright, and here we go. So switch using the X key again, switching our grayscale to black for erasing. I know I'm being a little redundant with that, but that keyboard shortcut will save you a ton of time. Now let's see if I can freehand this bit and have it look decent. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Overwatch. And we're just going to erase the bullshit. There we go. And we're going to use that distance key, and we're gonna erase that way to make sure we get nice smooth lines. Because this is a skull we're dealing with, we don't necessarily want it to look like there are any jagged edges using the shift click method. Now, it's not always going to look like that, but it can from time to time. So when it comes to curves, especially gentle curves, I like to use the distance tool to erase things. See, I messed that up. And again, not following my own advice. Doing strokes are just a little bit too long. There we go. Let's do that one more time. I still see some black. There we go. Get rid of the distance key. Yeah, why not? Why don't we just finish this up? It'd bother me if we just left it alone. And I'm going to move just a little bit faster. I'm pretty confident in the program at this point, but we don't want to be here just watching me erase things the whole time. All right, that's fine. We'll leave it as is. That looks okay. So yeah, that's our basic hoodie design using projection. Now, some of you might want to apply something like an emissive layer. Emissions are super duper easy. Probably should have started with that before moving on to this stuff, but like I said, it's my first time teaching, so we're covering it now. Now we're going to create a new layer since we're not doing any projections. We don't have to do the paint layer first. We do the fill layer. See, that's going to do the thing again, and then we want to change the black mask. And I like to make a habit of labeling things because things in this program can get sloppy very easily. So let's do emissive stripes, and that's going to be what that is. Now, usually I would set all of this up before I got started, but for demonstrative purposes, we're gonna do the line first, and then we're gonna show everybody how that line changes as we mess with the settings. So we're just gonna do it right here across the arm, and we're gonna use Alt Shift Click, and we're gonna use our. We're not gonna concentrate on making it perfect. Yeah, no, it's garbage. Okay, whatever. This will do the job for now. All right, here we go. Excuse me. Now, if we want to modify how the thing looks, going back into this layer. Now we have a bunch of stuff up here. These boxes all control different things. Color, pretty self-explanatory. Metal controls whether or not it's going to look metallic or shiny. You can turn that up. See, that kind of looks like duct tape because it still has the fabric behind it. But yeah, you can see the effect that it has on the material. And roughness, same thing. We'll turn that all the way up, and nothing shiny at all. We turn it all the way down. Looks like it's kind of painted on latex. So you can achieve different effects with that. Well, I'll leave that to your discretion, of course. Now let's change the base color to something that's going to look a little bit better with emissions. So let's go with, I don't know, let's go with a nice magenta. Yeah, nice, that's a nice shade. Now you can see all of this going on up here. We're not going to work with the metallic. We're not going to work with normal or the roughness. We just want height, color, and emission. Now the emissive is going to be default set to black. So we want to use this dropper tool right here, which is really, really helpful. You can grab color off of any picture you want, even if that inspiration for what you want to make is something as simple as a desktop background. You can use the dropper tool and then just, you know, minimize the program, or not minimize the program, but, you know, shrink the window, use the dropper tool, and go digging for a lovely little splotch of color that you might want to use in Substance Painter. But in this case, we just want to grab it from this one above. Now, the quality of it did change a little bit. It could be a little bit tough to see, but as we do that, yeah, you'll notice it is in fact emissive. Now, you can do little tricks with this too. You can have a different base color from the emission. It doesn't always work out very well with different color combinations, but it will give the color some different qualities every once in a while. So it's worth messing around with, but most of the time the emission is going to be the overriding color on the thing. So we're going to stick with that. And that's how you make something emissive. Yeah, it's pretty simple. When it exports, this design is going to be on the emissive layer, which is going to be just black, and you're going to see that color, nice, bright, easy, ready for export, or sorry, import into your Unity project. Now, if we want to mess with something like height, it's going to be a little bit harder to see with the emission on. So we're going to turn the emission off for now. We're going to turn the normal on. Then the height can either make it look like, it might be a little deceptive here, but using the texture can make it look like it's kind of standing up, like it's a raised design on that fabric. or it can look like it's sunken in. Now this effect can be used for like scars or uh, even simple drops of liquid. Adding a little bit of height mapping to it can really give it some depth and flavor that might be missing. Might just make it look like just a regular splotch. Like, here, this is, I don't know if this is strictly allowed, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to add a different fill layer, add a black mask on that, and we're going to change this material because I'm fumbling with the basics here. So I'm just going to do something fun, and maybe someone will learn something with that. And we're going to change that to blood. Ooh, edgy. And we're going to add paint, and we've got our brush here. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think this dot looks like blood. I think that'd be a pretty piss poor excuse for a blood droplet. So, we are going to go into our alphas. Now, we can use a number of different alphas in here to achieve like a smudged effect. Let's look for fingerprint. Ooh, fingerprint smeared. Now, that could look pretty innocuous. It could be painted, and it could just be some dirt on the wall, or with the right material, it doesn't really look as sinister as I want it to. So let's turn up the scale a little bit, make it a little bit more bumpy and wet. Yes, there we go. Nice little blood smear. Now, we got a bunch of different alphas in here, and we could do all kinds of things. So let's look for. You can scroll through bit by bit, or we can go searching with drop. Oh, here we go. Drop spread wide, drop spread small, and we got all kinds of stuff. So let's go with a spatter. Let's see how that looks. Oh, I clicked it before. There we go. Spatter. Blep, 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 blep. And you can see with the right material, the right brush combination, and just a little bit of know-how, Substance can do a lot of work for you. And I mean a lot of work. It's a very, very powerful program. Let's see, what else can we go through? I don't think we want to do particles. Um, let's see, materials, smart masks, environments, color profiles. No, I don't think I've got anything else for you guys. I realize we're supposed to go on just a little bit longer, but I think I think we might be all done. Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm just seeing the questions. I was buried in my Substance Painter window. When you share your screen, you can't see drop-down menus or pop-up windows. Huh. I'm not familiar with Substance Painter. Can you use procedural textures? I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I haven't taken any formal classes on this program. I kind of just learned by doing, trial by fire, figuring things out, messing things up a lot. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Um, I don't really have anything else for anybody. Does anybody have